is your life. Right here, right now. It's real time. You hear me? Real time. Time to get real, not playback.
It seemed like just another cyberpunk thriller. Virtual realities, dark conspiracies, and a city on the edge. But Strange Days was a fight behind the cameras. Directors clashed over style, studios demanded spectacle, and Ralph Fiennes fought for depth. The result? Chaos, compromise, and cinematic innovation. In today's video, we'll uncover the 20 shocking secrets behind Strange Days. Shocking Secret 1: the script predicted the future of surveillance. When James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow co-wrote Strange Days, they weren't trying to predict the future. They accidentally did. The movie's concept of recording and replaying human experiences eerily foreshadowed modern surveillance tech, VR immersion, and body cam culture. Set in the final days of 1999, it imagined a society addicted to voyeurism, where every crime and memory could be relived. Today, with wearable cameras, deepfakes, and AI-generated memories, the story feels more like prophecy than fiction. Cameron once said the film was 10 years too early for people to understand. He was wrong. It might have been 20. In trying to warn us, Strange Days ended up describing us. Shocking Secret 2: Catherine Bigelow nearly died. Filming it, director. Catherine Bigelow's commitment to realism bordered on madness. During a chaotic chase sequence through downtown Los Angeles, she insisted on filming real street riots with handheld cameras, blending them into the movie's scenes. But when tensions flared, production trucks were attacked, and Bigelow herself was nearly struck by flying debris. The chaos made it onto film, giving the movie its documentary-like grit. Crew members later called it the most dangerous shoot we ever survived. Bigelow's fearless style blurred the line between directing and disaster management, something that would later define her Oscar-winning work on The Hurt Locker. Her mantra on set? If it doesn't feel dangerous, it's not real. Bigelow didn't just film the end of the millennium, she lived it. Shocking Secret 3: Ralph Fiennes wasn't the first choice. Ralph Fiennes' intense performance as Lenny Nero gave Strange Days its soul, but he wasn't the studio's first pick. Originally, James Cameron wanted Michael Biehn, his longtime collaborator from The Terminator and Aliens, for the role. The studio pushed back, demanding someone with more romantic intensity. Fiennes, then known mostly for period dramas, shocked everyone with his dark, magnetic energy. He immersed himself in the seedy underworld of Los Angeles, even shadowing real street hustlers to understand Lenny's moral decay. Fiennes later said the experience made me question reality itself. His performance turned a cyberpunk noir into something human, tragic, poetic, and disturbingly believable. Sometimes, the wrong choice becomes the perfect one. Shocking Secret 4: Angela Bassett did her own stunts. Angela Bassett's role as Mace wasn't just powerful, it was physically grueling. She performed nearly all her own stunts, including high-speed chases, close combat scenes, and a rooftop rescue sequence that left her bruised for weeks. Bassett trained with ex-police officers to move like real security personnel, carrying heavy gear while sprinting through narrow alleys. Producers tried to hire a stunt double for the most dangerous shots, but Bassett refused, insisting, "If Mace fights for her life, I should too." Her dedication gave the film its fierce heartbeat, proving that her strength wasn't just cinematic, it was personal. Decades later, her work in Strange Days remains one of the most underrated performances in sci-fi history. Bassett didn't play a hero. She became one. Shocking Secret 5: The opening scene changed film forever. That dizzying first-person robbery sequence that opened Strange Days wasn't just thrilling, it was revolutionary. Filmed using a custom camera rig Mounted to an operator's head, it gave audiences a raw, continuous view of crime through the thief's eyes. The unbroken take ran for nearly 5 minutes, unheard of in 1995. Cameraman James Murrow had to sprint, jump fences, and crash into walls while still holding frame. The result was one of cinema's earliest uses of immersive POV storytelling, later influencing Hardcore Henry and even Doom. Bigelow's goal was to make viewers feel complicit in the crime, not just witness it. It worked. The audience wasn't watching, they were experiencing. Before VR, Strange Days made us live inside the lens. Shocking Secret 6. The studio feared. It was too real. When executives screened the first cut of Strange Days, panic filled the room. The film's raw depiction of police brutality, racial tension, and social collapse hit uncomfortably close to real events happening in Los Angeles after the Rodney King riots. Some even feared releasing it could ignite public outrage. Marketing teams begged Kathryn Bigelow to tone it down, but she refused, saying, "If it doesn't disturb you, it isn't working." As a result, the studio drastically reduced the film's advertising budget, terrified of controversy. Ironically, the themes that scared executives are what now make the movie prophetic. Its depiction of power, exploitation, and voyeurism feels eerily modern. What was once dangerous fiction has become documentary truth. Sometimes, the future's too real for comfort. Shocking Secret. 7. The ending was rewritten 3 times. The original ending of Strange Days was far bleaker. In James Cameron's early draft, Lenny and Mace don't survive the chaos of New Year's Eve. The story closed with a montage of corrupted memories, human consciousness trapped forever in digital limbo. Test audiences found it too hopeless, forcing Kathryn Bigelow and Cameron to rework the finale. The second version was equally grim, ending with Lenny's mind erased after a memory overload. Only on the third rewrite did they settle on the bittersweet resolution we know today: justice, redemption, and a hint of rebirth. Still, traces of those darker endings remain in the dialogue, particularly in Lenny's final lines about memory and loss. It's a haunting reminder that Strange Days nearly ended with total despair. Even hope had to be rewritten from inside the machine. Shocking Secret 8. The night shoot nearly broke the crew. Strange Days was filmed almost entirely at night, often between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. for 3 relentless months. Crew members called it the vampire schedule. Exhaustion became a constant enemy. Grips fell asleep standing, and extras nodded off between takes. Kathryn Bigelow, however, thrived in the nocturnal chaos, using the city's neon haze and real midnight energy to capture authenticity. Some scenes were shot during actual downtown protests and street parties, meaning the actors performed amid real crowds, unaware a film was rolling. The result was cinematic magic, but human misery. By the end, half the crew had flu-like exhaustion. Still, Bigelow refused to fake night with studio lights. "The city tells its own story," she said. And it did. Gritty, alive, and unfiltered. Sleep was the only thing they couldn't capture on film. Shocking Secret 9. It was one of the most expensive flops of the 90s, with its massive night shoots, complex effects, and A-list cast. Strange Days cost nearly $42 million, a huge gamble for 1995. But when it hit theaters, it barely scraped back $8 million. Critics praised its vision, but audiences were confused by its darkness. Many skipped it entirely, thinking it was an action movie instead of a cyberpunk tragedy. The studio panicked and pulled it early from wide release, killing any chance of word-of-mouth success. Ironically, the same film that flopped commercially would later be hailed as a masterpiece decades later. Kathryn Bigelow called it the most misunderstood project of her career, though she said she wouldn't change a thing. Failure was just the first step toward legend. Shocking Secret 10. The memory recording device was real tech. The movie's core invention, the squid, or superconducting quantum interference device, wasn't pure science fiction. It's based on real experimental technology used by physicists to measure magnetic fields in the human brain. During production, Cameron and Bigelow actually consulted neurologists who theorized that one day, squids could record neural impulses as data. The production even built functioning mock-ups using copper wire and heat sensors to simulate electrical pulses. These designs later inspired several academic discussions about memory extraction and experience capture. What the movie imagined as fantasy is now being explored in neuroscience labs today. It's one of those eerie moments where Hollywood imagination runs parallel with scientific ambition. Yesterday's fiction became today's experiment. Shocking Secret. 11. Angela Bassett did her own stunts. Angela Bassett's portrayal of Mace stands as one of the fiercest in 90s cinema, and astonishingly, she performed nearly all her own stunts. Refusing a double for most of the action sequences, Bassett trained with tactical teams and stunt drivers for weeks, mastering the art of high-speed chases and brutal hand-to-hand combat. In one infamous scene, she drives a limo backward through a riot while dodging pyrotechnics and extras, all done practically, no CGI. Crew members recall her leaving set with bruises, but smiling proudly, saying, "Mace wouldn't back down, so neither can I." It's this raw authenticity that gives Mace her power. She's not a superhero. She's human, determined, and real. Decades later, Bassett's performance remains a symbol of strength in a world spinning out of control. She wasn't acting tough. She was tough. Shocking Secret 12. Ralph Fiennes almost quit mid-film. Ralph Fiennes' performance as Lenny Nero may seem effortless, but behind the scenes, the role pushed him to the edge. The character's descent into obsession and trauma mirrored Fiennes' own mental exhaustion during filming. Known for his intense method approach, he reportedly refused to break character even off-camera, speaking and behaving like Lenny between takes. The line between actor and role began to blur so badly that he once told Catherine Bigelow he couldn't tell where Lenny ended and Ralph began. Bigelow intervened, adjusting shooting schedules to let him recover. Despite the toll, Fiennes' raw vulnerability gave the film its emotional spine. A man addicted to the past, drowning in memories he can't let go of. Sometimes the role consumes the actor and leaves something behind. Shocking Secret 13. The film predicted the VR boom. When Strange Days premiered, virtual reality was considered a fad. Clunky headsets and pixelated worlds. Yet the film eerily predicted the emotional and ethical questions surrounding modern VR and social media. The Squid device acts like a futuristic body camera, streaming lived experiences for pleasure, addiction, and control. Themes now mirrored by VR adult content, influencer culture, and digital escapism. Tech insiders later admitted that the film inspired early conversations about experience sharing in Silicon Valley. What once seemed like wild fantasy has become our reality. People recording, selling, and reliving moments instead of living them. Catherine Bigelow warned that when technology touches desire, control disappears. It wasn't predicting the future, it was describing it. Shocking Secret 14. Catherine Bigelow fought for the ending scene. The final kiss between Mace and Lenny almost didn't make it into the movie. Studio executives argued that it was too sentimental for a film so dark and nihilistic. But Catherine Bigelow refused to compromise. She saw that moment not as romance, but as catharsis, the first human connection after 2 hours of chaos and moral collapse. That quiet embrace amid fireworks symbolized rebirth, the idea that even in a corrupted world, empathy could still win. She shot the scene guerrilla style, stealing real fireworks footage from downtown LA's New Year's celebration. Against all odds, the ending survived the cuts, standing as one of the most poignant finales in sci-fi history. In the noise of the future, love was the last rebellion. Shocking secret. 15. The film was banned in several countries upon release. Strange Days faced bans in parts of Asia and Europe due to its graphic violence, sexual content, and depiction of police corruption. Authorities in Singapore, Malaysia, and parts of Germany deemed the film socially destabilizing. Even in the US, several theaters refused to screen it, calling it too disturbing for mainstream audiences. But the controversy only strengthened its cult following. Bootleg copies spread underground, transforming the movie into a forbidden legend. For fans, that sense of danger, of watching something they weren't supposed to, only deepened the experience. In time, the bans lifted, but its reputation as a film too raw for its era remained. When art tells the truth, censorship always comes knocking. Shocking secret. 16. The nightclub scene was shot in real riots. The chaos of Strange Days felt too real, because much of it was. Bigelow shot key scenes during actual protests and street demonstrations in Los Angeles, capturing genuine tension, firelight, and fear. The extras were sometimes real activists, and the production faced sudden police interventions. One assistant director recalled tear gas rolling into camera frames as they filmed, and Bigelow simply shouted, "Keep rolling!" The energy on set was volatile, unpredictable, and dangerous. Ralph Fiennes later admitted the experience blurred the line between fiction and reality, saying, "You couldn't tell if the crowd was acting or if it was just life bleeding into the movie." That raw authenticity became the film's heartbeat. Sometimes the world outside the frame is more real than the one inside it. Shocking secret. 17. The squid device had a real prototype. The iconic squid headset wasn't pure science fiction. It was inspired by real experimental neuroscience from UCLA. Catherine Bigelow consulted researchers working on sensory recording and brainwave mapping technology. Using that, the prop team designed the squid to feel plausible, a tangle of electrodes and neural mesh that sat directly against the scalp. Early concept art even borrowed from EEG machines used in 1980s labs. During test shoots, crew members described eerie sensations when the device's sensors heated up, giving actors a phantom tingle while wearing it. The line between performance and experiment got disturbingly thin. The future they imagined was already being built in secret. Shocking secret. 18. The soundtrack changed Cyberpunk forever. Few soundtracks have captured dystopian rebellion like Strange Days. With tracks from PJ Harvey, Tricky, Skunk Anansi, and Juliette Lewis performing live, the music became its own pulse, raw, dark, and prophetic. The soundtrack influenced the tone of later cyberpunk classics, from The Matrix to Ghost in the Shell 2.0. Composer Graham Revell wove industrial noise with symphonic tension, creating a soundscape that pulsed like neon anxiety. Bigelow described it as music that feels like electricity. Even years later, underground DJs sample it in techno sets, its legacy quietly rewiring the heartbeat of cyberculture. The future had a sound, and Strange Days played it first. Shocking secret. 19. Bigelow used real LAPD officers on set to enhance realism. Bigelow cast off-duty LAPD officers as riot extras and stunt players. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Real police playing corrupt police in a film criticizing systemic abuse. Tension brewed between them and the cast, especially during violent protest scenes. Some actors later admitted feeling genuine intimidation, unsure where performance ended and power began. Yet that choice gave the film an unmatched authenticity. When Mace faces down a squad of riot cops, the fear in her eyes isn't just acting, it's survival instinct. Sometimes the truth hides inside the performance. Shocking secret. 20. The ending almost predicted. 2020, when Strange Days premiered, its vision of police brutality, media addiction, and societal collapse felt like exaggerated fiction. But today, it reads like prophecy. The film foresaw citizens recording violence, a society addicted to spectacle, and truth buried beneath entertainment. In a haunting twist, Catherine Bigelow once said, "We filmed what the world would become if no one learned to feel again." 3 decades later, her warning feels less like art and more like memory. The future she warned about isn't coming. It's already here. Strange Days wasn't just a cyberpunk thriller, it was chaos. A battle of vision, technology, and ambition that left its mark on everyone involved. Beneath the crimes and immersive recordings was a story about obsession, society, and what happens when memory becomes entertainment. Maybe that's why it endures, because it reminds us that voyeurism without morality is its own kind of crime. If this uncovered a truth about Strange Days you never knew, drop your favorite secret in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more revelations from the films that challenged reality. Remember, watch carefully, or you might see too much.